Hey, what's up, everyone? Brad Chmielewski here with episode 181 of Shatter The Vain. What's pretty awesome about this episode is episode 1 was released 3 years ago, right around this date. The first episode went up November 23rd, so the day before Thanksgiving. I remember playing Vainglory at my aunt's house, telling them about it, and the podcast just launched. So, yeah, November 23rd, 2014 was the first episode of the podcast. So it's pretty awesome to see, making it all the way to episode 181 now. I didn't think that was going to happen really when I started this. It also started as a solo show, and they were much shorter, like 15, 30-minute max episodes. But I quickly realized that Vainglory is so much more. It's about the community. It's about communicating with the players, the people that love this game and support it, and just want to see it grow. So quickly ended up starting to bring guests on to talk through their experience with it, get their opinions on it, and it's a really nice thing to have. And hopefully everyone who's been listening, maybe since episode 1, or if you're just listening for the first time now, you're enjoying the podcast. And I thank everyone for the support out there over these last few years, just doing the podcast. It's been great, and I will keep going if people keep listening. On this episode, keep it pretty short. It's been a busy week for myself, and so had to get this out. And there wasn't a lot of news. There's all that focus on the challenge battles that happened, which, that was like an insane amount of content for Vainglory esports happening. I know the viewership wasn't that high, but there was some great games, and I'd recommend going back and watching some of them, especially Vision Gaming versus Tempo Storm on the final day. Those games were great. It was a best of 5 series, going all the way to the end. Wasn't sure who was going to pull that out, so it was nice to see that. So I would go back and watch that series if you're looking for a few to watch here. But I have Halinator joining me. He's an analyst for GankStars. He's an editor for Broken Myth. I kind of want to get his thoughts on what happened with GankStars this season. They just were not looking that great. They lost their spot in the Vainglory 8, which I know a lot of people are upset about, including myself. A member of GankStars. I've been helping and supporting them for a while here now, so really a bummer to see that happen. I have a feeling that they will be back either with the same squad as they practice and train over this break here, this winter break, or with a whole new team. You don't know. I'm sure we'll get announcements here after Worlds or in the new year. They have plenty of time for any roster changes to happen, but don't know. Maybe they just need time to play more, because that was their first season playing together as a team with the Rekizoro joining the desk. So definitely a change happening. So we dive into some of that, what it takes to be an analyst. You don't have to be good at Vainglory to run the numbers. You just have to be good at math. So we dive into that, what it takes, how you can get into it, just other avenues to get into the esports scene rather than being a competitive player. We're all not great players, but we might love the game. So there's other places for you to shine in the esports scene. Before we get into this, I want to mention the Patreon page. That's over at patreon.com/shatterthevain. Like I said, thank you everyone that's been supporting, watching, listening to this episode since episode 1. If you could donate or support the show at all, that's the place to do it on Patreon. You don't have to. They're still going to come out for free. They're still going to go up on YouTube. Still going to keep going. And yeah, definitely check out the video version. Up to about 10,000 subscribers over there. So hit that subscribe button to get know when this goes up, and other gameplay videos and just other Vainglory news as well. All right, that's enough of this intro. Let's get into episode 181.
Shatter the Vain.
This is the 181st episode of Shatter The Vain. My name is Brad Chmielewski, and this is a podcast all about Vainglory. Every week, try to break down the news, gameplay, game tips, and hopefully we can become better players together. And every week, bringing on people within the Vainglory community, people that love this game, support it. And this week, I have Halinator joining me. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
Sorry.
please introduce yourself. I could tell people GankStars, Broken Myth, but you could do a better introduction than
Yeah.
I'm sure I can.
Yep. So I'm currently serving as an analyst for GankStars, and along with that, I'm also a editor for Broken Myth. So that's
Nice.
pretty much it.
So so then I guess stepping back from those two roles, because I want to dive into them, but then how'd you get into Vainglory to even begin with?
Well, originally I had a cynical taste on mobile gaming, and I
Okay.
was on the App Store one day browsing through random apps, and I saw Vainglory, and I was like, "Hey, this looks interesting." So I decided to give it a try, and I don't think I regretted it one bit.
Nice. So were you playing other MOBAs? Or were you just like a PC console gamer, not particularly MOBAs?
I used to play this really kids game called Tanky Online, and that was about it.
Oh, okay. So like no, you were just like no games at all.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. So that is yeah, jumping into a MOBA from like basically almost no games to
Yep.
a MOBA is pretty tough.
Yeah.
What, I guess, what then once you were into it, like what drew you in and made you stick around?
Well, I realized people do things for a goal. And if I did not bring my achievements to a goal or to satisfy my ambition, I think it would be like wasted time and sort of just like wasted energy. So I was introduced then to esports, and I
Mhm.
thought if I could give Vainglory esports a try. And yeah, and that's where I am now.
Okay. Did you go down the path of trying to be like a professional player at first, or were you always that analyst kind of side of it?
I knew I had no hope to become a professional player
Okay.
because I'm gonna be honest here, I suck at Vainglory. But what I was good at was math, and I
Mhm.
used my real world like skills and applied that to a video game in which I sort of could introduce new aspects and new insights for myself and the community in a sense.
Hmm. So then, as you were starting to run all these numbers and stuff, did you get involved with GankStars pretty early on? Like I know you've been part of them for a while.
Yeah, I remember I joined GankStars about 10 months after I started playing Vainglory.
Okay.
Uh, I was credible threat then.
Nice. And then so you came in as an analyst, or you just like that was the community side that early in the days?
I sort of just came in as an analyst in a
Oh
sense.
wow. Okay. So
Yeah.
so you already had like the, I guess, respect. And did you go through Owens at that point, or was
Uh,
Owens even involved?
I don't think Owens was too involved. It was mainly Viziox in a
Okay.
sense. Yeah.
Nice. So I guess now that you're in this role as the analyst, if someone else is trying to become an analyst, what would you recommend for them? Like, is it just know the
Uh,
numbers?
they pretty much just be, you must have a good attitude and love math.
Okay.
And yeah, pretty much that's it. Just love math, and you should be very good.
Is it? I know I've talked to a few other people that are analysts in the Vainglory scene. Is it tough to, I would say, like get the respect of the players because they are like they're playing at this high tier level, and you're just giving them math. Is there ever any pushback where that doesn't make sense, but you're the numbers guy, so we have to believe you?
Usually, when we're at GankStars, when we're trying to communicate with players, we
Hmm.
do it with like a one-to-one level. It's not like we're smarter than you and you're smarter than us, and we should treat you like trash. We
Okay.
try to be very respectful to each other, and I believe I've offered some helpful insight, and the players took it really well. So
That's
that's
good.
pretty good.
Nice. So then this season, I'm gonna have to dive into it here. It did not go that well for GankStars. I think it seemed like the players just didn't gel, and with Iraqi Zoro leaving to like join that desk, there wasn't just that synergy that had been there for other teams and other seasons. Is that kind of what you saw as you were on that competitive side?
Yeah. I believe the primary problem with GankStars was communication. In most of our matches, I think we lacked a lot of communication and coordination,
Hmm.
which resulted in some like throws that should not have happened because these are very mechanically gifted players, but
Yeah.
they need to focus on the basics, which is currently right now communication.
Right.
And yeah. And within the last week, I think they actually improved a lot under the pressure, but it was not enough in a sense.
Hmm.
But they still improved, and I'm pretty happy about that.
Well, that's good. At least hopefully hope you guys and the players feel like they started to get that worked out because I think it would feel terrible for everyone involved to end the season, even though it didn't go well, to feel like, yeah, we just are terrible at the game. You're really down on yourself at that point if you don't feel like you've started to learn.
Yeah. Well, like every team and every person has their ups and downs. Like TSM, they weren't always the best team, and now they're very good. And
Hmm.
we must learn from our adversaries, and we must improve and strive to be like them. So,
Yeah, that's true. So are you having to watch, or do you end up watching a lot of the other games to kind of see what the other players are doing, other teammates, or are you strictly just kind of focused on what's working with the items and each hero and not so much on the other teams?
yeah, there's actually a lot of fluctuality in GankStars. Like occasionally, analysts such as myself and Viziox may go into like a semi, not like too professional of a coaching role,
Hmm.
and we occasionally will tend like VOD reviews and offer suggestions during VOD reviews.
Oh, okay. So that's kind of, I guess, helps you learn other skills too and see other sides of it rather than just them going to you for the numbers.
Yeah,
That's cool. Uh, so we'll probably dive into a little more on the challenger battles here in the news, but continuing on. So then, Broken Myth as well. You're involved with them as an editor, right?
yeah, correct.
Hmm. Did that come just as early as kind of the analyst side as well? Did you kind of like, get involved with Broken Myth almost instantly?
Yeah, about like I would say 9 months, maybe. I
Okay.
mean, yeah,
Yeah, so that was early days when it was just kind of getting started before Addy Andrus left then, right?
yes, correct.
Nice. And yeah, Broken Myth has gone through. I feel like a lot of ups and downs, and right now it does seem like it's on like a very positive trend. There's much more content and articles coming out.
Yeah, it's mainly due to the like the work of Sean. He is an amazing person, honestly saying.
Uh huh.
Like, he really dedicates a lot of time and passion towards Broken Myth, and I think the community is very appreciative for that.
Yeah, if anyone doesn't know Broken Myth, you should check it out. It's brokenmyth.net. There's articles about hero tier lists. I talk about them here on the podcast. There are breakdowns of the esports matches sometimes. Sometimes there's funny lore things, or at least there used to be. Sometimes it's just other numbers breakdowns and item thoughts and things like that. I guess it runs the gamut. There's really no like focus besides Vainglory.
Yeah.
Uh, what's been, I guess you probably end up helping with the tier list and the numbers and talking about that, right? More than like some of the other like kind of one-off things, right?
I actually don't offer too much insight since I'm going to be honest here. I'm not the best analyst. People such people such as like Flash X and Physics, I remember they have offered a lot of insight, and I've been just like just editing for grammar, and pretty much that's that.
Okay, but still, it's still an important thing, and I feel like Broken Myth on a whole sometimes gets flies under the radar a little bit.
Yeah,
That's awesome. Well, it seems like you're working on like two awesome projects or involved in the scene, it's got to keep you pretty busy, and so you don't get to play much.
Yeah, that's true.
Cool. Well, continuing on, I mentioned the challenge battles, so I'd love to jump in those a little bit.
Vainglory News.
Did you get a chance to watch them besides the GankStars one, or were you kind of just busy with life and other things?
I actually watched most of them,
Oh,
not
nice.
all of them. So
Yeah, so on the EU side, we saw one new challenge team get in there, Team Queso. I want to say they were previously in the Vainglory 8, and then they lost their spot, and now they're back.
yeah,
Okay.
and yeah,
And then on the NA side, we saw Team Hazard and Vision Gaming, if I'm correct. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, and so Team Hazard, I watch more of the NA games just because those are the players that I know and the time I can easily watch. But Team Hazard, that whole weekend, I know GankStars had to play them, and that's kind of where they lost their spot. But they were just looking great all weekend.
yeah. I have to admit, I think they had very good communication, and they were able to exploit like our weaknesses and turn them against us in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Do you think they had the upper hand there, to like knowing who the players on GankStars are and having games watched over the last year and months with all these players? Like, do you think they had the upper hand of knowledge there?
yeah, I would say they had like a slight advantage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then Vision Gaming, I gotta say the series between what was it, Tempo Storm was probably some of the most exciting games of Vainglory I've seen in a
Yeah.
long time.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, there's just some really good standout moments. If anyone wants to go back and watch that, it was definitely sad to see Tempo Storm lose both those series against Vision Gaming and Hazard, because those guys, they had to, what was that, like probably 4 hours straight of playing, 3-4 hours, so they had to have been taxed.
Yep.
Was there any other standout moments that you saw in the challenge battles?
Probably everything. Well, every fight involving Kraken, because in my honest opinion, it's such a game changer, and like it usually decides the game, especially in late game in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just interesting to see like this stalemate that's been going on, and whoever makes the next action will either win the game or lose the game entirely. So,
Right. Yeah, there was so many moments, I think, like you said, around the Kraken, that once the Kraken was taken, it was almost guaranteed that game was going to end off of that push. Like, you just saw it time and
Yeah.
time again, where I had a game recently where we got 3 Krakens in a game and we couldn't close out the game. So. But that's it. That's in solo queue, so there's no communication there.
yeah.
So yeah, everyone should check those out. Exciting to see these new teams come in. They'll start playing here. There's a winter season break, so they'll start playing in the spring when that happens. So that'll be in 2018. I don't know, and I haven't heard any news on if we will continue to see 3v3 or 5v5 will be brought in, because it's all going to change when that happens. Are you having to prepare for 5v5 already? Is that even something you're thinking about, or not enough information yet?
I wouldn't say we have too much information, but probably we want to rest up a bit before we start that grind to get back in the VG8.
Right. Well, and I know there's been no news, and we could say that GankStars team may change. You never know what's going to happen in these breaks.
Exactly.
So, people change and move on. But yeah.
Yep.
Then speaking of 5v5, we're going to see that at the Worlds here in just a couple weeks in Singapore. So that's going to be really exciting to watch. Not only the 5v5 match, but then the teams playing here. Are you familiar with some of the other teams besides the NA and EU teams?
I'm sorry, I'm not really familiar.
Yeah, same. Yeah, like I'm really interested to see how Ace and Hunters and Rocks Armada, how they're going to perform, and how NA is really going to stack up against them.
Yeah,
Because we talk a lot about how the NA meta or NA is just so much stronger, but then I've seen games, some of the ones that Iraqi has been like recasting in English, and I don't know, it's looking pretty good over there.
yeah, they have very interesting strategies, and it pretty much won't suit with like NA teams. So in my honest opinion, NA shouldn't underestimate other regions besides EU,
Yeah.
um, because every other region has a lot of potential. Well, EU does too.
hmm Yeah, I think I mentioned last week we were talking about this aftershock black feather that often gets run in the EA SEA region, and you just don't see that in NA, but somehow it's working over there.
Yeah,
So I think they have some hidden tricks up their sleeve, and it's going to be all played on update 2.10. So Lorelei is going to be an issue for everyone to have to figure out how to play her and play against her.
yep.
So yeah, get ready for those. All the groups have been announced. All the groups are in the show notes. I know we went over them on the last episode too. Continuing in the news, there is some drama from Vain Social. I don't know if you saw this very long post that got written about the API scene.
Sorry, do you?
Oh yeah, did you happen to come across this or read it?
Yeah, fellow GankStars members showed it to me,
Yeah.
and yeah, I would say it's very interesting in a sense.
Yeah, so there's a link in the show notes. I can't even begin to explain the whole thing here, but I should probably get him on for a little interview or episode here. But for the most part, it sounds like there's not a lot of support from Super Evil Megacorp and then the I think it's Mad Glory on the API side, who's doing the API for Super Evil Megacorp. So there's not a lot of communication happening there. They have to spend money to run the API sites, and then they are not promoted or advertised by Vainglory. So it's really hard to, as I know and doing Broken Mist stuff, when people don't know it's there, they can't listen or read or use.
Yeah,
So it seems like it comes down to a lot of just like Super Evil Megacorp either needs to communicate with the API developers and promote them. If they basically are asking people to make these sites and these services for free, they need to work with them a little more.
yeah, exactly.
And I think that's an issue I think a lot of people have across the community of Vainglory. If you're a content creator, if you're, I think, a coach, a player, just all of that communication, I think it can always be better, right? As you know,
Yeah,
with the players, like you said, communication's like the first thing you need to work on. Like, yeah, it's key at all levels for everything you do.
yep.
So go read this thing about Vain Social. Honestly, I don't use or haven't used Vain Social that much. I know it exists, and sometimes I bounce around between a few of them and try them out and see the things they offer. But I don't often check my stats on the API site, so I don't know.
Yep.
I don't need to know where I'm at because, like you, I know I'm not a great player, so I don't need to know those numbers.
Yep. I'm pretty bad at Vainglory. I just use the true skill function in Vain Social to like to reassure myself that I'm not that boosted.
Okay, well, what, you're simply amazing. I think silver, right? Silver gold, right?
yeah,
Right now?
I got boosted from like
Okay.
credible threat.
Okay, there you go. Uh, and then the last thing in the news is I don't mention or talk about like players leaving or members leaving that often, but I thought this was interesting. Sue Generous is now with Team Liquid. So why I thought this was interesting because we saw Sue Generous. He's been on the podcast here. He's been on the desk of Vainglory 8. He was the COO of GankStars for, I think that lasted for like 2 months. And then he's just been part of this community for a long time, a pro player. So him going over to Team Liquid is very interesting. He's been moving around trying to find his place in mobile esports, and this seems like it could be a really good fit for him.
Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. So, well, Suijay, I think, is a very ambitious person, and with like a really ambitious organization such as Team Liquid, I feel like he would fit perfectly with it, and especially with like Arena of Valor coming out.
Right.
There's so much untapped potential that may exist in that game, and I believe he is trying to capitalize off of that, which is both good for the community and good for pretty much everyone involved in a sense.
Yeah, yeah, because Team Liquid does have a Arena of Valor team. They have I think, a Clash Royale team, or at least some players that they sponsor there. So his role, I think, is like head of mobile esports or leader or whatever. It's kind of like pushing mobile esports forward.
Yep, which
But
is
yeah,
very good.
yeah, very good. Yeah, definitely. And hopefully, some people asked about like him or Team Liquid coming into Vainglory. He's not going to say anything on Twitter, but I would say this is an interesting sign for them to maybe be looking at it if it's with one of these new challenger teams that are now in the Vainglory 8, like picking them up, because Team Hazard, they don't even have a Twitter account. You can't even get a hold of them. So if if a place like Team Liquid could pick them up, but then again, Team Liquid might wait for 5v5 to drop. I think there's a lot of organizations and people maybe sitting on the sidelines waiting to see what's going to happen with Vainglory 5v5 and Arena of Valor. Once it drops here in North America, it could be a real challenge for Vainglory.
Yeah.
But yeah, congrats to Sujay on that. Definitely follow him a lot. Hopefully he sticks around there for a while. I know, like you said, he jumps around and very ambitious. Hopefully this is his home now for a while.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's all the news for this week. I think it was all the challenge battle stuff was pretty hectic and everybody was focused on that. So not a lot of news yet on a new patch or anything like that. And 5v5 is coming, so we'll start to see more about that here soon. Before we get out of here, I got a little topic, a little forum static.
Forum static.
So this topic I didn't really pull from the forums, but it's been a topic I've seen come up a lot on Twitter and just Reddit. It's about Flicker. Flicker is not seen, and that's not just the heroic perk there. You do not see Flicker in a game. I tried to play Flicker last night, and I've never felt like there's a hero that I did so little with. I don't know. What are your feelings on Flicker?
Well, Flicker, I would say, sort of is sort of like in between of like a captain and a jungler. So you must be very like mechanically skilled, and no offense, to play it. I would say to improve him, I wouldn't buff or nerf any of his abilities. I would say
Okay.
pretty much just make his activation time for stealth quicker, or just make his stealth ability last longer.
Okay.
I think because of that, it will have like let's say a major impact in like in the competitive scene, as stealth is actually very annoying to deal with, and especially with such a tanky hero that can easily lock down your carry. It's probably going to be very annoying.
But yeah, I feel like he probably works so much better with a team. Like the
Yeah.
communication, we're going back to that again. Like just having
Yep.
that on your team when you're in solo queue and you're just this hero that goes invisible and pops scout traps and like slows people every now and then.
Yeah.
Your team does not know how to support that.
Exactly.
So yeah, you don't think buffing invisibility is the only one I think I would buff or change would be the activation time on the A feels very long. I feel like if that was brought down just a little bit, you have heroes like Celeste or Lorelei, that root stun is like near instant. So why is Flicker, his is like, it's so long. It's just easy. You can walk through it and get out.
Yep.
Because I would love to see more Flicker because we have that great skin we got here in this update. The Frankenstein one, or the Franken Flicker. It's really cool to see when you get to play him, but yeah, it doesn't happen often.
Yep. Yeah.
But you mentioned Flicker as a jungler. Is that something that the numbers kind of work for him, or is he just like that in between kind of? He isn't so much of a support. Is he more of like a jungle captain? I guess.
Yeah, I would say his play style sort of is very aggressive, sort of like Catherine in a sense, probably even more aggressive, and you also pretty much have to lock down an entire team or just a carry, so it sort of fits the jungler role in a bit. But I wouldn't run jungle Flicker as like CP or weapon power.
Okay. All right, that's what I was wondering. Yeah, like maybe that's what I'm doing wrong. I got to get that damage first.
Yep.
Well, awesome. That's really cool to hear what you're up to, Halinator, and how GankStars is doing. Like, I know there's a lot of questions around them right now, like getting kicked out of or losing in the challenger battles, and then the new logo, and there's just a lot of news. I'm sure Palm by Ukrainian has some stuff up his sleeves, and it's nice to touch base with someone so everyone can kind of get a little behind the scenes look.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah. So where's the best place for people to reach out to you if they have any questions or thoughts? Is Twitter?
Yeah, Twitter, GS_Halinator. And you can also reach out to me on Discord. It would be just Halinator, and the number would be 2446.
Okay, awesome. I'll include those links in the show notes. Everyone go check it out. If you have any questions on numbers or GankStars, let him know. Send him his way. And you can follow Shatter The Vain on Twitter at Shatter The Vain, website shatterthevain.com. All the episodes get posted there, links to iTunes, Stitcher, the YouTube version as well. And I'll be back next week with episode 182, maybe diving into more of this Vain social drama that's happening. All right, take care.
Let's get this over with.